We are told that who we are is wrong. We are hated, hurt, and killed. Not even safe on our own streets, but remember, we are your children, friends, and neighbors. You don't see us simply because you've chosen not to see us. And we are here, and we'll always be here.
One day you'll be taller than the mountains. I believe one day.
My name is Alexa, human, and I'm a trans man. Well, as a child, I grew up like any other person, a kid that only loved trousers. And I even dreamt at some point putting on a trouser. Then it was very funny. So the first time I got my own trouser was actually in P4. Yeah, that's when I got my own trouser and I was very happy. That day I went to school with it. So when I reached school, they made fun of me. I will never forget that day. I was so miserable. I came back home crying. And then they told me that I was different. Well, I actually realized that I was trans man last year. That's when I accepted that I am, but I was gender non-conforming for a very long time. Even when I was a kid, I never wanted to be called a she or a he. I just wanted to be me.
I'm called Hajit Abdul Jamal Uthman. I am a trans woman. A youth. I actually came out to be a trans woman. That was at university. I was in my second year. I was doing a bachelor's in computer science, and it was so complex for me because my parents got to find out about my whole experience, and it was a little bit of a challenge because I didn't know anything about what gender, what sexuality is, what is this. I was like, okay, I don't know what is going on with my life. I don't know what's this body kind of change, because growing up I didn't like girls. That was one. I was in company of girls, but I wasn't in love with them. I'd look at the cute ones, and you know them, the men with hanks, and then I would be like, okay, I'm falling for them. So that's how maybe probably I came out as an individual, but it wasn't a good experience for me. And basically, being a trans woman, I have more of my gender expression, because what I want to be is I want to be me, not someone else. I was assigned male at birth, but I feel I'm a woman at identity, so they're totally different.
I didn't know I was a trans person. I thought I was gay. I realized that I was gay when I was like 6 years, because I had feelings for men, and I thought I was a boy because I grew up as a boy. I thought I was a boy, and it was really confusing. So when I grew up, like at around 20, I realized I was a trans person. Then that's when I realized I wasn't gay. I was a trans person. we are people who are born in wrong bodies. You're born male, but you really feel you're a woman. Since childhood, everything you're doing. We are these pretty girls from childhood. We've been very beautiful.
Kwanze nganze nakula na jjajja wange. Naye nensalawo nga maze kutuulamu ne famire yange. Ne mbanyonyola kiki nnyina okukola. Kuba nkyempulira. Bwe mpulira nga oyalinza another body mba mpulira I'm not comfortable enough, you know. Naye twaliranga bino ebintu bye twakolanga mu holiday byali ebya coaching. Kati coaching yo engeri gye twayambalanga uniform ezo ze nalinga saagala. Olina bakazi ne brother bange awo anyinza okuva ewaka ekitegeera ne nkwata engwe wali ne nzijjawo nga mpulira siri comfortable nazo ne ngenda ne nfuna gye nkyusiza ekitegeera ne mmala ne ngenda kusomero nga mpulira ndi comfortable. Kati kubanga nze okusooka okwange okukola nakolera ani anko wange nga nakamala okusoma gwe mulundi ogwasooka. Ebiseera ebyo nali nkyali tomitomi ne omulimu gwe nakasemba befuna nga ndi trans lwakuba bosi wange ali understanding. Namusaba omulimu nga nyina osalawo ne mubuulira ekituufu ng'abantu bwe banaafunira questions ng'olidde yalina ki idea. Okitegeera mukama wange. Kaakati ye nze namutuukako nga nze namukubira simu waliwo yampa ennamba y'essimu. Ngamba wagezaako no bw'ati yeetaaga editor. Nze okay kale kiri fine. Ne mukubira essimu nangamba jangu. Era ne tudda ffembi ne twogera ne mugamba naye omanyi nze amu ABCD but I'm not comfortable like that. Oba osazeewo okumpa omulimu gumpe nga bwe ndi. Ne munnyonnyola ye n'akitegeera kubanga ye yennyini ate already naye ate muyimbi. Yeyita Niko Kitone mu by'okuyimba. Kati ye nampa ki omulimu nga ye. Nga tamaze kuwuliriza ngamba nangamba abantu be batoze bensinga okukola ki okwagala n'okukolagana nabo. Bwe mba nkolaganyeko n'omuntu bw'ati at least asobola okumanya embeera ye n'amanya nti omulimu asobola okuba maama ye taata. Kubanga balala baba tebafaayo alowooza asobola ofuna omulimu anytime wagwagalidde. N'omugoba wanajja agenda wali kati era n'embeera naye kanakabeerako ogwo omulimu emyaka 3 nga nkola naye okuva 2014 nga nkola naye. Era ye ampa respect yange era yampita papa nange era muyita papa. Era wabeerawo amubuuza nti naye oyo ABC abatalinga okwemulugunya nga mugamba genda omukole ki omwebuulize ye kennyini akubuulira ekikyali.
Nalina emyaka 9 nali nsoma from Bale Rumagen Army Barracks Primary School. Na joining a team y'emipiira nga ba training. We had a coach called Gonza, but he could train as in football for girls. So nendabanga I don't fit in that football team of girls, but I prefer being in this football team of what? Boys, because that's where I do what? I felt it's where I belong. At the age of 9 nasooka ogezaako ndabenga fine sivaayo kubuulira muntu nti this is what I am naye nga ngezaako balaga nti okay this is who I want to be. Reaching the age of 16 nagezaako obuulira my friends. The first time I got a letter, an expulsion letter from school, that was Manjas High School. Nga bagezaako okungoba ku ssomero because of what I was. Nengezaako ofuna emikwano egimu gye nali nsuubira nti giri kumpi. Ne mbagamba naye mwana bangobye. They've chased me from school, but this is truly what I am. But how am I going to go about it? Can you just give me a piece of advice? Nga manyi bagenda kumbulya like they're going to tell me, Nash, handle it like this, tell your parent like this and so on. Don't go straight. Growing up, when I took in my senior 4 VAC. So when my mom heard about it, here asirika napita nangamba mbiwulidde naye try to change. Don't do it. Just completely change.
I told them about, then they told me, it's your life. They got fed up of like my situation, and also when I left home, I started my own life as I was even still young. So when I started paying my bills, I couldn't lean on anyone. So I told them, you know what, if you no longer pay my bills, so you cannot treat me the way you feel like. I can choose to live the way I want. So within those interactions, they got to, to give up on like nailing me on the wall.
I know one day you'll be taller than the mountains. I believe one day you'll be brighter than the sun. I believe one day you'll stand tall and tell your story right.
My whole family wasn't very, very, very welcome with the fact that I come from a Muslim hard background. And being that I'm one boy amongst the many girls that are around home, it was very, very challenging for them to accept that I was who I am today, and what I am was really, really complex for them. My dad had a pangam, I had police, I was just from school, I was just from home. My dad burnt everything of mine because he considered me a shaitan. Like in Muslim things, if you do something that is bad, you call it a shaitan or something. So it was very, very complex and very hard.
Kyanewuunyisa nnyo era kyampisa si bulungi nalwawo okutereera nendwawo n'okikakasa nanyiiga neneekyanga buli omu nanga mujje wawobeera omwana biki kyekijja nakyo naye nkimalamu ebbanga ekyo naye nemala nenkireka kuba ye nga tanta kunvaako nga ne bwennyomba nti nabeera n'ebintu n'ebigambo bingi ku baneiba ab'okukyalo buli omu nga mpa amagezi gage naye neŋŋenda nga nkibikkako nga sikikiriza nnyo okufuluma nnyo naye nga akimanyi naye simweteekako nnyo kubanga omwana wange ate sinza alina abaana abangi ennyo ate nga naye tansuulawo nnyo kiri awo ne babasooka ne bamutya ne bamulaba byabogerako byeboogedde ne boogera ne tugumanga ngenza okulaba nga agenda mu maaso n'aboogera nga ne bamuvaako nga tebalaba agenda mu maaso era ye muzeeyi omusajja ye ate ye kato baffe na buffi tugenze tumugumya mpola nange bwenkola ki bwe mugumya.
Bazadde bange obuzibu bwensanga kugamba kyendi bo tebakimanyi kyokka nandiyagadde okukibagamba naye ntya okibagamba kubanga ndaba bwenkibagamba waliwo obuzibu obuyinza okutuukako.
When my dad heard of that scenario, the first thing he did, yasooka kunzaaluka n'agamba, now you're not my daughter. First of all, actually my dad calls me Peter. He was like, you know what, everyone knows you as Peter. I don't know you. I've never given birth to, this kind of person. This is what I know. You get, yasooka kunzaalukuka. So after that, he went ahead. N'agamba nze mu ddiini eyange tekkiriza ky'oli. So in other words, sizaalangako omwana musiraamu nga yeeyisanga bw'oli.
A few of my family members are okay with it, and others are against it, and then others don't know if it's right or wrong. Others just accept me the way I am, and then they're like, let's just leave that curse there. It's okay, it came to us.
God does not make mistakes. God is a God of diversity. He has created different people on purpose. He has created us differently on purpose. There is a reason why somebody is not going to dress like you, they're not going to think like you, and they will not have a hairstyle like yours. Second Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 17. We are going to begin from 16 actually. The Bible goes on and says, 2 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 17, that if any man, I love this, it has no limit. That means if any homosexual, if any gay person, if any lesbian person, if any transgender person, is in Christ Jesus. That's what the Bible says. 2 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 17. If any man be in Christ Jesus, they have become a new creation. The old is gone and a new one has come. We need to welcome them as family. They are all in Christ and we are going somewhere together. We need to borrow a leaf when we look at Jesus when he met the Samaritan woman at the well. So this goes to the pastors, the men of God. Sometimes the people that you're preaching against, some of them, God is sitting in there to do great and mighty things in this generation. So we need to be very cautious as we preach the gospel so that we do not preach hatred and discrimination.
There was a lot of counseling from all the relatives and it was nagging me. It was really nagging. I didn't like it because every person who could come and visit, they could tell that person about me. And I reached an extent of whenever I could see a visitor coming to our home, I could just go away.
As you grow up with this hate. So you grow up knowing that for you, you're rejected. So in a way, if you have to live, if you must manage your society, you have to accept the rejection and learn to live with it. That's the only way you can manage. But you can't fight because you can't win the battle. So as a trans man, I have learned to live when I am good to everyone. That is just a security mechanism.
People need to understand that this is just a personal feeling. And it is something that you will never ever say, because some of us have even been taken to shrines. People are thinking that truly we have ghosts in ourselves. I don't know. My mom, my dad took me for dua. All those things are things that people are doing in the African context to think that these are things that maybe someone initiated in me. Maybe this is someone, maybe I learned from someone, which probably is not the case in this way.
Of course, once they realize that you're trans, in most cases, of course, the first thing they want to do is they want to undress you. They want to really know if you are.
Bwemba ntambula bantu babira bansongamu bagamba naye ono mukazi musajja naye tetukutegeera abamu kale mwenkolera kale kati nga nze nkolera mu garage. Waliwo olumu baali baagala kunyambula bandabe bandi musajja bandi mukazi.
They should stop hating because they are hurting us. They are killing us. Most of us, some of us commit suicide because of being rejected. So why would you be rejected for who you were born to be? Why would they discriminate you because of who you are? If I'm born with one eye, should you throw me away?
God is a God of diversity. He has created different people on purpose. I really think they also need to know that despite their sexualities, something inside there is stronger or bigger than their sexuality. And they should not be limited by anybody that is preaching hatred. You want to come to church? Come. You want to preach the gospel? Preach it. It is not about who you are, whether you are transgender or you're homosexual.
Well, if religion really preaches love, then why preach hate? If you want people to love one another, why preach hate? I love my church. I want to go and pray sometimes. But then, because of the discrimination, the judgments, it makes me go away from the church, and I don't want to face them.
I don't think I believe in religion. I pray from anywhere. And I don't believe whether someone goes to the church or whether someone goes to the mosque. That's where God hears most. And not all that are in church are holy. Me, I believe God created everyone differently, and we all don't have the same ear. We can't all hear the same, we can't see the same things, we can't feel the same, so that's what people have to accept. You either love me for who I am, or let me be who I want to be.
And I'm Muslim and I'm fasting because I know God loves me. I don't care about what other people say. Yes, they are putting so much hatred into people, but me as a person, I believe in God because I know, because we've grown up knowing that God created every person, knowing whatever that person is going to be. So I know He knew I'll be this. So He loves me. He has given me very many favors. I mean, I'm a happy girl. I believe in Him. I'm happy. I'm celebrating God because He's showing me lots of love.
In most cases, when you want to go for checkup, you can't go with your partner. Because once you go with your partner, they will say, there is someone there, and this person is gay. And then it will raise eyebrows, everyone will start looking at you, and I don't talk about my gender. Even when I go with my partner, I say she's my friend, or my family friend, my best friend. I just have to find something to make them feel comfortable so that they treat me.
Many times, the attitude may still be negative when you go to Mulago in general. And in this, I am saying if you went there and said, I am gay, I am transgender. But if you just went there and just kept quiet and don't reveal yourself, you reveal your identity, you will get, I think, a service. But I'm not sure what will happen to you if you say in the general outpatient department that I am gay and I have come here. I'm not sure, but most likely it may be negative. But if you go specifically to this contact person who has been trained, or let's say like MAPI, you will get a very good service. If you go like KCCA and they have sent you to a particular health worker, when you reach there, ask for so and so, you will get a very good service. But if you went in general and reveal yourself, your sexual orientation, I don't think it will really go well, honestly speaking. So in that, I'm saying we need to train more health workers so that everyone is on board. It's just a few of them.
I think they should change, because I remember one day, time back, I got a disease that I couldn't express to anyone. But when I went to a particular hospital, this doctor just asked me for the symptoms. They never even checked me or what was the problem, but she just gave me the medication, but I couldn't get healed. After other 3 months, I was getting worse. Going back there, the nurse was so rude to me, and it was that side of Naguru. So I had to call my boyfriend, and I told him, you know what, this has happened to me, and he referred me to somewhere else. But when you go there when you are transgender, then the impression they give you, that look, or someone looks at you like you're disgusting.
Transgender persons, the ones that I've met that have come out to say I am really a transgender person, by the time they come to hospital, they are really sick. I guess they would prefer not to come at all because of the stigma and discrimination. But by the time they come, they really need help. And at majority times, it has to do with this a sexually transmitted infection. Majority times, it is a sexually transmitted infection. Especially, we see more of trans women. With the IBU clinic, the number is increasing. Where people, you see this person has got anxiety, a lot of anxiety. They are very anxious. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to go. They don't know who to talk to. Even their fellow community, LGBT community members, they may not understand them. They just diss them off like, that is trans, that one is trans. So the number is increasing. So like if I can say like in a week, if I receive 20 clients or 25, 8 of them, they are complaints. You will realize it is lying there, that they are very depressed and they ended up doing some stuff, or they have suicidal tendencies, or they are very anxious. So like the number has actually, we have just realized that this is growing. It is a growing trend. I think it will at one time even pass the HIV threat.
There is the issue of confidentiality and privacy. If a key population came to you and disclosed what he or her does and what she or he is, will you keep that information? Is he or she safe with you revealing that information to you? And how are you going to treat her or him, and how will you look at her? So I think those are issues they look at. So they must gain confidence in a health worker that is providing service. And that's why we have peer educators to tell those people that we disclose to this person and treated us well. So peer educators are the ones who sell the services, so that the key population gain confidence in the people serving in the clinic and also in the clinic. Definitely they also want to feel safe.
I think the community does want to access the services, but the services are not friendly to transgender persons. They are not appropriate. They are not up to their expectations. They want to come and get a service where the health worker understands who a transgender person is. The health worker will give advice in relation to that transgender person, give whatever intervention they are giving in relation to that transgender person. But what they receive is not what they want. So many times they're like, why should I go there if I am going to go there and I will not be helped as a transgender person? So many of them just lay back because it is key population, but key populations are many. Fisher folks are all there. IDUs are all there. But as a transgender person, when they come to the clinic and they don't feel like you're even understanding what they're saying, why should they come? So they want to come, but they want, I think, a service that is tailored and good for them, where they feel they have gotten something, even if you don't provide it physically, let's say like hormonotherapy, but you can advise on it, you can talk about it from a health worker's point of view. But if the health worker also doesn't know what it means, the transgender person will not come.
Clinics that treat MAPS, I think in Uganda it is now MAPI. It is the only one. So you find that people travel long distances to come here because they fear discrimination from that side. Once they go for services there, they look at them and they start like gearing them, like, okay, there's a way they treat them and they really feel out of place.
For the health workers, it is, first of all, ignorance. They do not have the knowledge. Attitude, the health workers' attitude. Ignorance, why? It is true there are some trainings have gone on, they are training health workers, but not all of them. Very few, just very, very few of them, especially maybe here in Kampala. But in other districts, very few, 30 health workers. You can imagine 30 in a district or 30 in a municipal council, that is very few. So the health worker is ignorant about this community and why we need to look after them. Of course, when you mention this community, it rushes to immorality, money, promotions and sponsors. That's what people know. They don't know the real threat, the health threat, the public health implication if we don't look after this community's health. So the health workers, many of them are very ignorant. Then secondly, those who have been also trained, they cannot claim ignorance anymore. It is their attitude. People have gone through the training, but they still have their negative attitudes. So the training is like zero, because you train 30 and you only get 4 whose attitudes have changed. So the other 26, they go back and they still have this stigma in them. They hate this kind of community. The government has done a lot in trying to create awareness among health workers in government institutions on key populations, men who have sex with men, transgender persons inclusive. And apart from creating awareness, doing all these trainings, the government has, of course, under Ministry of Health, it has laid this platform and it has put out so many documents to deal with discrimination and stigma of these key populations. So many of the health workers know that it is illegal to discriminate or stigmatize this community. And of course, in government hospitals where the health workers have been trained, the medicines are there. The basic medicines are there. They may not be exactly what the transgender persons want, but there is some medicine. The government is trying very much to prioritize key populations in all health interventions. Talk about PrEP, talk about test and treat for HIV. These all started with these populations. The key populations are the first people who are benefiting, especially from PrEP. And so it means that transgender persons can benefit from also this program.
Resilience, stand tall. Only Mwanguzi, you are a winner. Just be you.
I think that the biggest issue right now in Uganda with transgender rights, transgender people's rights, is that we tend to conflate the sexual orientation and gender identity. And I know that there's been a debate going on about whether the T should be added to the LGB, right? Because that means that often people will view trans people as homosexuals, and yet they're not necessarily homosexual people. It's an issue of gender identity, how somebody deeply identifies as either male or female or none of the two. But because we live in a society where we are so accustomed to these gender binaries, people are not willing to look beyond whatever stereotypes it is that they have about these homosexuals. Of course, there are trans people who might be homosexuals, right? There are trans men who might be gay. There are trans women who might be lesbians. Also, there are trans people who might be bisexual. But I think that our biggest problem now in this country is that we have failed to look at the issues of transgender people beyond the issues of sexual orientation.
People, when they see us, because we are feminine, we are what they are like, those people are gay. We are not gay. We are not.
Being that Uganda is homophobic while transphobic, and also the legal constraints against people that are in bracket with that, I basically believe being trans in Uganda is like hell than any other country.
The law in Uganda does not say anything about transgender persons, fortunately or unfortunately. So we have no law in Uganda that mentions transgender persons anywhere. However, the laws that we have affect transgender persons in one way or another. Some of them target them. I wouldn't say they really specifically target them because, like I said, transgender persons are not mentioned anywhere, but there are laws that affect them by virtue of who they are and what they identify as, and also there are laws that have been used against them. Now, in regards to change of sex, we have a law, the Registration of Persons Act 2015, which repealed the Births and Deaths Registrations Act, and it provides it has a provision on changing of sex. That provision provides that any person, and it actually talks about hermaphrodites, intersex children, and it says that any child who below the age of 18 is born as a hermaphrodite and then through a surgical operation changes from either being male to female or from female to male, their guardian or parent can apply to the relevant authority to have the particulars in the birth register changed. So the law only provides for change of sex for children and only for people that are born intersex. So as far as transgender persons are concerned, the law is a bit silent about them. So when you read that provision, its express application is that you can only change your sex, one, if you're a child below 18 years, and if you were born intersex. So if you're a person that is above 18 years, we do not know, the law is silent about that, so we don't know what happens to people that are above 18 years, whether they're intersex or not. But also for transgender persons, it does not, because there is an assumption that intersex persons have these surgeries out of necessity, but transgender persons do them out of choice.
As an organization, we handle quite a number of cases that relate to change of name, to enable transgender persons have names that help them identify better with, that help them feel more comfortable with the gender that they identify with or the sex that they identify with. And we've also actually handled a case where a transgender woman who had undergone a surgical operation actually had her passport changed to actually reflect the female sex which she had newly acquired after undergoing the surgical operation. But that was one of very many other cases that relate to change of name or even change of documents that have not been successful. And this particular one, the main reason why it was successful was because this person had actually undergone a surgical operation, which most transgender persons are not able to afford. As I had earlier mentioned, one of the major challenges is really societal attitudes, because the people who work in these offices are human beings as well, and they are people who are brought up within different traditional cultural settings in Ugandan society. And the truth of the matter is, traditionally or culturally, most people do not actually understand the concept of a transgender person, and they actually usually associate it with homosexuality. So they actually don't differentiate between sexual orientation and the issue of gender identity. They confuse it a lot, and they usually bank on the fact that same-sex relations or same-sex sexual conduct is prohibited under Uganda's Penal Code Act, to actually say that going ahead to effect that particular name change for a transgender person whose face, as it appears in the passport photographs that have been attached, does not actually conform with the femininity or masculinity of the name that they are seeking to adopt in the application for the name change. So that really gives us a lot of trouble in helping getting our clients their desired names. But of course, with persistence, eventually we get the job done, but it derails us in the effectiveness with which we would have done it if it were not for such societal attitudes being applied even in these respective offices.
When people do human rights work, there tends to be a focus on the rights part, right? Forgetting the human part. At the end of the day, we are fighting for the rights of human beings, right? And sometimes human beings just need support. Somebody to listen to them. Somebody to tell them, yes, I know that what's happening to you is terrible, you know? And I think that that's kind of how we've been able to maintain that relationship. Just the fact of the matter that, one, we recognize transgender people as human beings. It's not just rights that we are fighting for. We are fighting for human beings to be able to live the lives that they want to live, that they should be able to live in a country where you're born, you're a citizen, you know? There's no reason why any human being should be treated in the way that some of the state agents in this country treat transgender people.
We have challenges in now documenting. When you are documenting something, you have to go to that specific person that you think is gay-friendly. Otherwise, if you have your documents and then someone happens to see maybe gay somewhere or something, it can raise eyebrows and then it can bring you problems. So we have to identify these people. So somehow they're really hard to identify because in a way, we have to embrace the society. We have to work together with the community for them to understand who we are. Like earlier this year, I came out to my hobbies and orgies. So they told me that I was lying. I asked them, name one boyfriend that you know, and they couldn't. So they even asked me if we had feelings. Like they wanted to know more. Then I started feeling like they were attacking me. Then I told them, stop attacking me. Don't do this. And then they're like, we're not attacking you, we just want to understand. So some people out there that maybe don't know about us, that may want to understand really who we are. But when we keep out there in the dark, then we keep them from the shadows, and that's why we have this big gap.
We can't keep hiding, right? Because we are saying that we are here as trans people, this is who we are. And we're not asking for permission to exist, right? We are not apologizing for existing. We are not begging to exist. We are asserting our right to exist as human beings. So no, don't change the names. Apply the name as it is. If you're the Trans Equality Organization of Uganda, then that's who you are, and occupy that space as that kind of organization. Because it's not a criminal offense, and the courts have told us this. The courts have told us it's not an offense for you to identify the way that you identify. If you look at the Rolling Stone case, which we won against the magazine, which was outing people, if you look at a bunch of other cases, the Victor Mukasa case as well, they all say that being LGBT is not a criminal offense. So it doesn't stop you from registering as a trans organization and saying that we are organizing for trans people, by trans people. Well, okay, so the Registration of Persons Act really covers things like registrations of births, deaths, things like that, right? And one of the issues that transgender people usually face is that when they come into themselves and realize that, I'm a man living in this body that doesn't fit how I feel inside, or I'm a woman living in a body that doesn't fit how I feel inside, the first thing is usually, how do you change your official documents to reflect what it is that you feel? So, and that's another issue, because of the conflation of transgender people with LGBT people. I feel like the fear has now also come to trans people, and yet in practice, really, there is no reason why anybody should be turned away. Anybody who is trans should be turned away from fixing their legal documents. So I think my advice to any transgender person who would be trying to change their names or identifiers on their documents is, one, consult a lawyer, right? Consult a lawyer so they can take you through the process, because there's always that fear of, is it illegal? It's not illegal. It's not illegal. And given that the Registration of Persons Act recognizes that intersex people exist, I really feel that transgender and intersex people would fall within the same bracket in terms of gender identity issues.
I would like to change my documents from my certificates, my travel documents, but I cannot. I mean, I've been to South Africa. It's the country I've seen whereby trans persons, they're free. They can even get married, you know. But I remember one day I was traveling and I was stopped at the airport because I was wearing makeup and a unisex shirt. And actually, I made that shirt that night. I was like, I wanted something free. I made some shirt and I put it on. But this guy refused me to travel. Actually, my flight left. Mr. Here in my passport, and it's like, Mr. So-and-so, I mean, we don't think you're the person here. You look different. I had to go and wash off the makeup. It's like, no, you look different still. I was like, a week before I traveled, and I told this person, this is me. I've been using this passport for so long. Even last week I traveled. No. And some guy came. Some guy talked to me. Was like, can you change your dress code after the flight had left? But I think when people are making laws, they should make more research before they make laws. I think they should consult from different entities, NGOs, before they make laws. Because most of the laws are hurting very many people, and these people don't know.
Of course, that is a challenge, that you go and change your name, but then you can't change your gender marker, and those are two different stories. So like I said, for many of them, they decide not to change. After they change their name, it's an end in itself for them that my name has legally been changed, so they don't change their documents. But we try to advise them too, but you see, like, you know, because if your name is Julius, you can't be female. And then if you're not female and you're male, there are very many questions you have to answer that are difficult questions. So some of them, they'll can't legally change their names, but their legal documents will remain in the other names. So us as people, when they're signing on documents, they're going to use their legal names that they changed to, but documents like a passport, they leave them in those names. Or when they get to instances where they feel like, I have to use the names that are on my ID, then they'll go ahead and use the names on their ID instead of their legal name.
It's not illegal to be a lesbian, a gay man, a bisexual person, or a transgender person in Uganda. It's not illegal. What's illegal, what's criminalized in our Penal Code Act is carnal knowledge against the order of nature, which includes a lot of things. It also includes certain sexual acts between heterosexual people. So I think for us, one, the first point of note is that we're not doing anything illegal. We can't stop doing the work we do because at the end of the day, we know that we are doing the right thing. And for me, that's what keeps me comfortable all the time, is that I know that I am doing the right thing. There's nothing that I'm fighting for or that I'm working towards that advocates for anybody to be harmed, that advocates for anybody to be abused or discriminated against. I'm actually advocating for all of us to be treated better, for all of us to be treated equally. First of all, for me, the thing that excites me the most about the transgender organizing that's happening now is visibility. I think that visibility is extremely important. Just the fact that we are now having the conversation about the differences between sexual orientation and gender identity, for me, is extremely important. There used to be a time when Ugandans would say, oh, I've never seen a gay person, you know? After the visibility of lesbian and gay people organizing, nobody can say that now. Even on your TV at 9 p.m. news, you can't say that you've never seen a gay person on that screen, right? So now with the visibility of trans people, I really think that the conversation is also going to change, right? People will eventually start to understand that these issues are different. They should be separated. And then also, in terms of responding to the backlash, I really, really think that there is no movement in this world that has ever succeeded by begging, you know, by telling people, please treat me better. Sometimes you just have to grab what it is that we want, right? And I think that trans people are now doing that. They're saying, we're tired of waiting, now we are here and we are demanding. And for me, I think that as long as that spirit continues, there's nothing that can hold us back. Of course, there are losses that might be made along the way, but as long as they are met, right? And for me, in my opinion, and this may sound strange coming from a lawyer, but the legal avenues are not the only way to change things in any society, right? Because, right, okay, we can go to the courts of law and challenge, but if you see how, like, the trans people in Kenya are doing things, the court was not always the first stop, right? They go to the National Examinations Body and say, I'm applying for a job. This is me, this is how I present, but my papers are saying M. So please change this. Then when they refuse, that's when they go to court. And then the court says, please change this. And for me, I think that change has to be incremental in that manner. It's always that one individual who goes and says, I'm not going to keep hiding anymore. You know, I need to do something about the situation that I found myself in, who then pushes society to rethink the way that they're handling a certain situation. And I think that the transgender community in Uganda is now doing that, and with a lot of radical energy. So I'm very optimistic. I'm really optimistic.
The government needs to understand that we are here and we are not going anywhere. We have no intention of not being Ugandans, you know. But what does it mean to be a Ugandan? I think there's a lot missing in terms of recognizing that people are here, trans and intersex people are here. They've been here for a long time. But the second point is to listen when we present these reports and information to them, to say these are the issues. We need government. We need a government that's responsive. That's what we need. We don't want a government that sits back and says, LGBT people are not persecuted. That's great if they think that, but we also need for them to respond when we come to them, when we come to the police station, because government is big. It's not just the president. Yeah? It's the institutions that serve this government. It's the police stations, it's the hospitals, it's the schools. We need the schools to not expel us when we tell them we are trans, right? We need, when we dress up, to allow us to be ourselves. We need that when we go to hospitals, government hospitals, we shouldn't be turned away because of our sexual orientation or gender identity. We need to be able to go to police, and when we report our violations, we need the police to care about us as Ugandans, not as special citizens. We are Ugandans, so we want you to respond. Go out and investigate when we tell you we've been violated, right? For the judiciary, we want you to listen, not with a biased ear or homophobia or transphobia. We want you to actually see us as human beings and ask yourself, if any other Ugandan walked in here and said that we have been violated, what would the courts do? We want you to see us as Ugandans and address us and provide response. Protect us also. When we come running to you, we're coming to you because it's a last resort.
Transgender issues are a bit complex, especially for a society like Uganda. They are very complex, people do not understand them, so there is a lot that needs to be done. So for now, I think government is listening, yes, but more has to be done. How? By engaging the different duty bearers. I think as service providers, as civil society, as different actors in the fight for rights of transgender persons, we have to identify the different duty bearers and find a way of engaging them. So if you're working in health and you think the Ministry of Health and the Uganda AIDS Commission need to understand transgender issues, then talk to them, engage them, tell them, you know what, these people are at risk. They need these kinds of services. If like HIRAF, we're a legal aid service provider, we're a human rights advocacy organization, and we think that police officers need to understand these issues because they interface with them most, then engage them. Go to police. Don't go with this combat style of I'm going to fight you while you're arresting transgender persons, because like I say, these are complex issues that we have to have a dialogue on. Everyone needs to understand them. A police officer who grew up from our context from which we grew up, they don't understand a person born as a male saying I'm a woman. It doesn't make sense. So our approach that we're using is the approach of conversations. Let's sit down. We know you don't understand these things and we appreciate that. Let's sit down. Let's make you understand these things.
Well, I would like government to accept us. We are people like them. We have feelings. We have broken hearts. We eat like them. When they hurt someone that we love, we cry. We die like them.
The only message I have to them is be who you are. Don't force to be anybody else. Be who you are. If you be who you are, people will accept you and you'll get that courage coming out, talking about this, yeah.
God is so big. God is so big and is amazing. We cannot confine the might, the power, and the strength of our God in our difference. But through the grace and love principles in the New Testament, the world and humanity was saved. So, my last words to both people, to the clergy and to the LGBTI persons and to the marginalized people, is it is time to get to a point of reconciliation.
I'm just giving them a message. We are human beings and we're not going to live today.
I know one day you'll be taller than the mountains. I believe one day you'll be brighter than the sun. I believe one day you'll stand tall and tell your story right with no fears. If you believe, sing this song with me. If you believe, sing this song with me. Tewegenya muganda wange ojja kuwangula. Tewegenya muganda wange gwe oli muwanguzi. Resilience, stand on. Oli muwanguzi. You are a winner. Just be you. Tewegenya muganda wange oli muwanguzi. ojja kuwangula. Stand on, just believe in you. Tewegenya muganda wange. Oli muwanguzi gwe. Tewegenya muganda wange. Oli muwanguzi. Chendi nawe choli. Tewegenya muganda wange gwe. Mama, oli muwanguzi.